Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
I'm Zede Donahue.
Get off your phone, Mom. I'm already here. That's.
I was closing out.
I had a friend. Your calendar.
My programs.
We have to schedule all of our public appearances.
Appearances. Mallory has a public appearance tomorrow.
Yes, we do. We just get calls from the press all the time. You know, fabulous.
Actually, and this is true. We're not even making it up.
No, but we told them they couldn't come. This lady contacted us and was like, "We want to do a little story on businesses that are using podcasts." And I was like, "Great, I'll call you after our recording session this afternoon." She goes, "Well, can we come by and take pictures?" And I was like,
We're in our pajamas.
No, you may not. I haven't washed my hair in like 5 days, and
let's do one of our more formal recordings.
Mom's not feeling so hot, and so we'll record in pretty close tomorrow. So.
Sometimes there's like the Down and Dirty podcast, and there's the, fancy cleaned up podcast.
That's right. We're podcasting while your kid's napping real quick or whatever.
One's made for radio, one's made for TV.
Exactly. This is
a radio.
This
podcast.
is radio. We're dressed for radio.
And my face on for radio.
And we are in the middle of our subject for today.
Oh, what is it?
It's I don't even like this word, but this is the subject. Stash.
Oh,
yeah.
Fabric stash.
Fabric stash.
I think because,
well,
it's a really fairly new term.
Right. I added this to the Trello. We could have an episode about Trello later. I added this to our board on Trello of podcast ideas on March 1st. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then, actually very recently, Abby Glassenberg, who's another, podcaster and pattern designer, she sent out an email about her weekly newsletter and discussed this word stash. And she's like, why do we call it this word that has to do with something secret or something illegal? And she talked about an interview with Kathy Fassett, who is a fabric designer. And they said something like, well, when do you clean out your stash? Or I don't know what. He said, oh, no, that's my paint box.
Right. Or your library. Or your cache.
Yes, your whatever, know. But,
well,
Linda was teaching a class, our quilting teacher was teaching a class called Sew Your Stash. And I was like, no.
Or how to clean. What is it? How to get rid of your stash?
There's stash busting. Now they ended up cutting things up to make something. It was not like they were like throwing it away or something.
Hey, I'd be better off calling it my fabric horde because I have no intention of trying to get rid of it or make it smaller.
Absolutely not. No, and I don't feel bad buying new fabric.
No, because you get pleasure out of the experience of buying that fabric.
And it does inspire you.
It does.
You try to sew something with, 5 things of fabric around you. I mean, of course you can do that, and there are sometimes it's fun to limit yourself to a palette or something, but,
Let me talk about the process.
Yeah, talk about the process.
I think a lot of people, especially, quilters or fabric sewers, either one, they pick out
garment sewers.
Oh, what I say?
Fabric sewers.
That too. So garment sewer, bag sewer, hobby sewer, doll sewer, whatever. I think generally the process is you go and you see a pattern or see something and you think, I want to make that. And you find a pattern and you get this pattern and it has the fabric yardage.
Sure.
Listed out on it, what you need and what color and what variety and what type or whatever. But it tells you what you need. And then you go around the fabric store.
Yep.
And you pick these things out. And then you get it cut in these proper sizes, pieces. And you take it home. And you sew it. Or you don't. That's how you get a stash.
Yeah.
Or hoard or whatever. But that's the process.
Yeah.
That is not my process.
Right.
And Mallory is not familiar with that earlier process because she's always seen my process.
Yeah, I'm very spoiled in that I've grown up with just like a ton of fabric around me. People will be like, "Oh, I had to go buy some lace," or they used to say, "Where'd you get that lace?" And it's just
out of my mother's
at my
room.
house. Yeah, exactly. At my house, I'm really lucky. I think that it's important to buy fabric when you like it.
Right. And what happens is when I say that to someone, I say, "Well, if you like it, buy it." And they go, "Well, how do I know it'll go with what I want?" If you like it, it will go with the other stuff you like.
That's right.
That's what happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have fabric that I've had for 20 years and fabric that I've had for 2 years that wind up going into the same project.
Absolutely. I also hear a lot of like, "Oh, my husband will kill me if I come home with this or something." And I'm like, okay, well, your husband should never kill you. I mean,
Don't tell him.
Yeah, or
here's what you do. You
whatever.
put it in.
No, don't put your fabric in your freezer. You have a hobby.
Oh, I didn't know people did that.
No, you have a hobby.
Right.
He probably has a hobby.
Right.
You are not like, you probably raised his children and you are a
And cook his food or something.
person, or who maybe he raised the children and you, whatever. But like
everybody needs something.
Everybody has a hobby, and it's not. I don't know. I think somehow. Maybe, I just got like a feminist conspiracy theory. Uh-oh.
We're talking
really
about
did.
fabric.
I got
Mallory.
one. I got one in my mind. I'm like, people of the sewing world, sewing stopped being popular because like they wanted to keep the ladies down and not, allow them creative expression. Sorry. Anyway, no, I will tell you why I got this feminist conspiracy theory. We're going off on a tangent here, and I'm gonna do it. I went to visit with our property manager, who's also a good friend of ours,
Right.
Ben, and I was meeting him out like in the common area in Parkade, right? So I go up to him and he's speaking to another gentleman, and I haven't told you this story yet.
Uh-oh. Am I going to go nuts?
Oh, yeah. And I was like, "Oh, well, hello." And Ben's like, "Oh, have you met, I don't know, Bob the Chauvinist?" And I was like, "No, nice to meet you, Bob." And I didn't know this about him yet, I guess, And, he's like, "Oh, well, Mallory runs Zede's Sewing Studio." And he's like, "Oh, well, I haven't been in there a lot." And we chuckle because he
doesn't look like
he
he sews.
or what a ha ha ha, and that's fine, I tried to give him some business.
And the clothes he has on weren't sewn by anyone.
No,
right.
Ever. That wasn't even, I didn't get this vibe from him yet,
Right, yeah, okay.
Just wait. And so then I say, he says, "I tried to give him some business. I needed a button sewn on." And I was like, "Yeah, I only sew on buttons for myself," and we give out a card of a great lady who does alterations, for us. And so that's probably what we did when Bob the Chauvinist came in. Sorry, Nora. So anyway,
Nora's
she
our
listens,
seamstress.
and she listens to the podcast. So hello.
Hey, Nora.
So then I think we're finishing up our conversation. Like now I can have my business meeting, right? With the property manager. But, Bob keeps sticking around and he goes, "My second wife, my current wife."
Oh, current. Okay.
Wait, hold on. Just listen. Okay. My second wife, my current wife, she apologizes every time she gets out the sewing machine. And I was like, "Oh, where are we going with this?" He goes, "Because," and the reason she does, because my first wife, it was a big point of contention with us, the sewing. And I was like, really? And I mean, he knows what my story is. He's been in it. He does not have the excuse of like being ignorant about where I work. And he says, "Yeah, because you can't have stuff everywhere and keep a house clean and you da 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 da." And I was like,
apparently,
well, hold on.
yeah.
I was just like, "Okay, sir." Like maybe this would be someone who would kill their wife if they came home with some more fabric, and I don't know about a person like that. And so then he keeps going on, and I said, "Well, don't come to Zede's for your third wife because they all love to sew over there." I just said this to him, and he kept going on and on about how terrible it was, the sewing machine, and this clearly ruined his relationship. Maybe his wife wasn't a great lady. I have no idea. But he just went on and on about how terrible sewing is for a marriage. And I guess if you are married to someone who hates your passion, you might have a bigger issue there. And yeah, he went on, and I finally was like, well, Ben, do we need to meet at another time? And Ben's like, no, I have a meeting with Mallory right now, Bob the Chauvinist. Well, see you later. And then I found out what his business was, and I'll never be going there ever.
Okay.
And none of my friends will be
But he
either.
also can't get her to sew a button on for him.
No, he doesn't want it. He hates sewing so much that he didn't.
But he came to our shop to get a button sewn.
That's right. He wanted it done somewhere else. The dirty art of, it was so gross. I thought, and then Ben goes, well, that was mildly misogynist. And I was like,
mild.
I used some words, and I said, no, that was outright misogyny. He just talked about how stupid his wife was for sewing.
I don't know what he'd think about our men that sew.
Well, I was just like, don't talk to me then. Bye-bye.
Wow.
And I also think that sometimes people think they can speak in such a way to me because I look young. I don't know why. I think that, I don't know.
I've seen people
do that to you though too. Yeah. It's definitely a lady thing though, I think sometimes with some men.
Well, we went from fabric stash to misogynistic men who hate sewing.
Do not apologize for your fabric stash.
No.
And yeah, okay, don't buy every single fabric you see, obviously. But there's no reason to feel guilty if sewing is your hobby and your
passion or whatever.
Then you need to buy the tools to do
my husband said to me one time, of course, there's all these sewing machines, and you were much younger, so he didn't know how much any of the girls were going to be into the sewing or the fabric or whatever. And I do have a very large studio in my home with a lot of fabric. And he did allude to the fact that on the one wall, the R rating, which is the insulation rating, is probably about 120 because it's stacked against that wall, right? And he just said to me, I said, is that like something you have a problem with? And he goes, no. He goes, I'm just wondering, like, if you die first, what do I do with all that fabric? And my answer was, you pull that stupid boat you have up to the window and throw all the fabric in it and sink it someplace, because what am I going to do with the boat?
And here's the thing about the fabric and the boat. Mom sewed for us all our lives, and costumes and fun things and dog corsets and boat covers.
And boat covers.
That's another episode, right? Okay. She sewed all those things for us all our lives. And she uses the studio all year round. That boat only gets used during the summer. And I love the boat. I water skied.
That's right.
Got great memories with my dad on the boat, But yeah, I mean, let's not put the sewing like lower on the totem pole. That's wrong. Low on the totem pole is actually
well, honestly, I mean, to me that sounds like an excuse because everybody needs to have their own interest.
Yeah,
and anyone can choose to criticize your interest, no matter what it is. Because I can choose to criticize the boat that my husband has. I can choose. What else does he? Oh, my husband races. He does triathlons. Let me tell you about how many bicycles hang in our garage.
Do you think?
I could criticize about that and tell him how stupid it is to have all those things. And it's not. He goes to work every day, and he deserves to have things that make him happy.
That's right. And I'm don't misinterpret me as saying like all men have a problem with sewing, because Mom and I are married to
no, just Bob the Misogynist.
Yeah, just Bob. We're just talking about Bob the Misogynist here. Don't worry about that. But have you ever gone into Bass Pro and seen the sign? Oh, your wife called. You can buy whatever you want.
Yes, you see that about fabric
Gross.
too.
No.
Right.
You missed it. It's not in Bass Pro.
Oh, it's not in Bass Pro.
No, it is only in the sewing store.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if I want to spend, let's use a figure, $5,000 on something. Ha ha ha. If I wanted to spend that, I'd talk to Derek about it. And if he wanted to spend that, he'd talk to me about it, obviously, purchases and
I think couples, families have a dollar amount sort of.
Everybody's got
I'll spend $100 that maybe I don't get authorized or have a family discussion about. But if I'm going to spend $5 or $10, I probably say, I'm thinking about spending $5,000 on this. What do you think? And he might say, I think we don't have that, or it might not need to go there. right away.
No, because I just bought a bike or whatever,
Right. Yeah. Oh no, I need a new bike.
Anyway,
right, no.
I think that part of the reason the stash needs to, that maybe women feel like they've got to be functional more in their hobby or something like that is part of this culture. And I don't think it's
To
fair.
rationalize.
Yeah, to rationalize and rationalize. And, if I show somebody fabric or a machine in the store, I'm never pushy about it. I hope no one ever feels like they have to use their husband as an excuse to like get away from me as a shop owner, But if I say, "Oh, look at this beautiful fabric," and somebody's like, "I love it. Oh my God, it's $30 a yard. I don't want to buy that."
So we're not embarrassed of our fabric holdings.
No, we're not embarrassed of
we don't have the person I don't remember who you said called it be shameful of your stash. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not at all.
No.
I mean, in fact, my kids, just like you said, I know Hillary had said things like, "Oh, my mom's probably got that. We don't have to worry about going and buying it." Or, she has come in and said, "I need a costume tomorrow."
Yeah.
And
guess what?
It turns out to be the most fantastic costume anybody's seen because I've got the fabric. I bought it 20 years ago.
Okay, speaking of 20 years ago, how about, how long ago? It's like 50 years ago. Somebody's like, "Well, I bought this fabric in the 1970s. I haven't used it. I'm never going to use it." And I said, I just made a dress out of some fabric that my mom bought in the 1970s. And I made this dress. And she goes, "That's exactly the dress I thought of when I bought the fabric." And we used it. Of course, maybe you need to clean out. So I don't know. You move to a smaller house, whatever. But
you can always give fabric away as gifts.
Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about your stash.
I recently made a costume for my husband. It's been maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And he was going to a party. This had to do with his racing, his triathlon. They had a triathlon, I don't know, costume ball or something. Anyway, I don't know what they called it.
Was he the belle of the ball?
But you were supposed to dress like you dressed in high school. You're supposed to come dressed as, and of course, he's the old man racing, right?
Yeah.
So he needs something from like late 60s, early 70s to dress in. And I said, pull some pictures, pull some images off the internet. It won't be a problem. I can whip you something up, So I wound up making him like this flowery tunic thing. And we put godets and made him bell-bottom jeans. And oh my God, he actually bought a wig and wore a long wig. And I made him a headband to go on it and all this. But I laid out like these 3 fabrics. And I said to him, pick one of these fabrics, that I'm going to make your shirt out of. And he says to me, "Well, do these look like they're from the 70s? And I said, "They should, because they are." He thought I was just mimicking the 70s, and it truly was the 70s.
He didn't realize the authenticity of your collection.
That's absolutely. It was totally authentic.
That's right. Well, I just think that...
Be proud of your fabric.
Be proud of your fabric. Do with it what you will without... you shouldn't feel fear or shame about your fabric.
You don't have to hide your fabric.
No.
You need to treat it well. You can get it out. You can pet it.
Yep.
Whatever you want to do. You can get your fabric out, look at it and not use it, and put it back and get it out another time.
And it will be a productive experience. Evie Hawkins talks about doing that. She calls her wall of fabric her wonder wall.
There you go.
Because she sits in front of it and wonders what she's going to do with it.
That's right.
And then she'll get it out and pet it and, and all that stuff. I mean, even if you do make something artistic or something that doesn't seem functional, it doesn't matter. And so much of sewing is functional. Even,
Right.
Mom and I don't quilt. Quilts, a lot of times, they get put on beds.
Right.
They get loved by children. They get, or if you do make an art quilt, it's a gorgeous thing to look at or something like that, And then if you make clothing, well, duh, functional.
Right.
So, yeah.
Our boat covers.
I would love to hear a stash shaming story or a story of stash redemption from one of our listeners.
From someone out there.
Yes. Let us know in the comments, or you can email us. You can email me at mallory@sewhere.com. My name is spelled Mallory. I guess it's important. So, share some stories with us. We'd love to hear them. Love your stash. Love your sewing room. Say goodbye, Mom.
Goodbye, Mom.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.